It's time for the Cover Price Top 10. This time we're going back 2 years. All right, guys, we're going to get into this list. This list comes to us from our friends over at Covrprice. It's their top 10 from 2 years ago. How did those books do back then? How do they do today? What was a boost? What was a bust? Before we get into it, we're going to start at number 10. But before we do, I want to remind everybody there is a Covrprice discount code down below in the description, as well as a Mutant Beaver Comics discount code, a Whatnot $10 off code, and the newest one, the Gemini GeminiComicsSupply.com. If you're mailing a lot of comic books and you use the Gemini mailers, you can get 10% off with VERYGARY 10. And that's it. Don't forget to check out my eBay store as well. I started an eBay store because a lot of people asked about buying books and they don't use Whatnot and they're not in the Northeast, and that's the next best thing. So there you go, VERYGARY Comics. All right, let's get into it. Let's get to number 10. This is Moon Knight number 3, the Walmart variant. 2 years ago, Marvel Comics introduced a new villain, and adversely for Moon Knight in Hunter Moon. The standard edition was gaining traction in the aftermarket, but the Walmart variant, included in Walmart packs, was performing even better back in 2021. At that time, copies sold for as much as $50 raw. Fast forward 2 years to 2023, and the initial hype surrounding this new character has somewhat diminished. Nowadays, you can easily find a near mint copy for less than $10, which falls under the bust category. Buy under speculative trends. This issue serves as a valuable reminder that the variants found in Walmart packs are not as rare as they may initially seem, and often flood the market for years. However, it's worth watching the character's Hunter's Moon. Despite the current low market values, he had an excellent look and was well received by Moon Knight fans. He may resurface in an upcoming storyline, making this an item to watch or consider picking up at an ultra low fair market price. Keep an eye on that book. Let's get down to number 9. This is the Eternals number 3. In 2021, Eternals comics experienced significant increases in value, notably the entire first series and numerous issues featuring specific characters and storylines. One of the most sought after books during that time was the first appearance of Circe. While her portrayal on the screen in the Eternals movie was well executed, the film itself proved to be the most polarizing entry in the entire MCU to date. Fast forward 2 years later, and this book would be considered a bust by under speculative trends, as you can easily find it for $16 compared to the everyday price of $50 for a near mint raw copy in 2021. Regarding graded copies, the highest sale this year was a CGC 9.8 at $710. However, this is only half of the all-time high reached in June of 2021, which was $1,500 just a week after the release of the first Eternals movie, and only Eternals movie up to this point. The uncertainty surrounding the return of the Eternals characters on screen, if at all, coupled with the lack of momentum in the MCU and the extended absence of these characters, has significantly impacted the value of Eternals-related comic books. Nonetheless, if certain characters from Eternals universe do make a comeback on screen, Circe is one of the most prominent characters, is likely to be included, potentially reinvigorating interest in these books. I think a lot of us were picking up Eternals back then. Talk about a love-hate movie in the MCU. You either loved it or hated it. I enjoyed Eternals. I thought it was good. I thought it was something different, but a lot of people disagree with me, and I'm sure we're going to read it in the chats. Let's get to number 8. This is the Avengers 232. This is the newsstand copy. 2 years ago in 2021, the first appearance of Eros as Star Fox generated significant excitement and heat, adding to the growing interest in Eternals-related comic books. At that time, this book reached an all-time high sale of $1,000 for CGC 9.8, and anticipation couldn't have been higher. Fans, especially among certain audiences, met the cast of Harry Styles as Star Fox enthusiastically. Fast forward 2 years, and this book has experienced a similar fate to other Eternals-based titles. It now can be categorized as a bust by under speculative trends. A CGC 9.8 copy is currently available for $215, while near mint raw copies are selling for less than half of their 2021 prices, with the prices of $18 compared to $45. The uncertain return of these characters to the MCU adds hesitancy in the market. While Marvel Studios teased Star Fox to have a potentially larger role in the film, the actual plans for these characters remain unknown, leaving fans and collectors waiting to see how the MCU will integrate them into future projects. Guys, I comes back to Eternals. All right, let's get going. This is number 7, Strange Tales 179. In 2021, this comic book commanded impressive sales prices, including a high of CGC 9.6 sale of $850 and a top raw sale of $214. This issue marked the first appearance of Pip the Troll, who briefly appeared alongside Star Fox in the film Eternals. However, 2 years later, prices have significantly declined. You can acquire a graded CGC 9.6 copy for $250 to $300, and near mint raw copies are consistently priced at about $20 or lower, classifying this book as a bust. While Pip, like Star Fox, will likely return to the screen at some point, the specifics remain uncertain, leaving fans and collectors eagerly awaiting his potential reappearance. You're starting to see a trend here with Eternals-based books. Okay, let's get to number 6. This is Marvel Premiere number 10. 2 years ago, Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness was one of the most highly anticipated MCU releases. Fans were excited about the possibilities of exploring the multiverse, and many collectors were eager for any speculation or rumors related to the film. At that time, a leaked Lego image featuring Shuma Gorath led to the surge in demand for this first appearance, driving prices to all-time highs. A raw copy even sold for $250, while a graded CGC 8.5 copy fetch $750. However, 2 years later, the film's hype and lofty prices have faded. The movie received mixed responses from fans and critics, and recent sales have seen graded copies go for $114 and raw copies $64, making it a clear bust. While the return of Gorath in the MCU seems doubtful, he will continue to play a role in the mystic realm within the comics as he has for the past 50 years. I like to consider Phase 4 of the MCU the missed opportunity phase. In this movie, there were so many missed opportunities, but that's not the point of this video. Let's get to number 5. This is Thor number 6, the Nick Klein second print. The upcoming Marvel Comics event Timeless was the primary reason for the second print of this comic heating up back in 2021. An image featured the Timeless series originated in this 2020 release. Donny Cates also fueled the fire with multiple tweets and posts referencing the event and the image. Collectors were intrigued, leading to prices of $10 or more for raw copies and an all-time high of $82 for CGC 9.8. 2 years later, as the storyline concluded and collectors shifted their focus to other items, copies of this comic are now essentially selling at cover price for raw. Graded 9.8s recently selling for as low as $20, making it one of the more significant busts on this list. You don't even need to get any graded, guys. You can pick them up for $20. It's cheaper than it costs to get them graded. Let's get to number 4. This is Morbius, the Living Vampire number 1 from 1992. 2 years ago in 2021, the first trailer for the film Morbius generated excitement among collectors, leading them to buy up the copies of Morbius's first ongoing series. This was hoped that a Sony-related Marvel adaptation would find success. Raw copies of this series sold for around $14 and reached an all-time high for a 9.8, about a 209. However, the film's reception didn't meet the expectations of many fans, and Morbius memes have become a lasting legacy. 2 years later, copies of Morbin Time are holding at $50 for graded 9.8s, while raw copies remain in the $5 to $7 range. Despite the uncertainty of Jared Leto reprising his role as Morbius, as seen in the upcoming Morbius film, the comic market views this as an apparent bust. Although in the world of comics, unexpected developments are not unheard of. Just think about Black Bolt in Multiverse of Madness, kind of, sort of. Let's get to... Did anybody like Morbius? I mean, God. All right. Again, not the point of this video. We're not going to go into MCU and Sony talks. Let's get to number 3. This is Werewolf by Night number 1. 2 years ago, the announcement of Werewolf by Night Halloween special triggered speculation about which version of the character would appear. Many assumed that the casting of Garcia suggested a focus of the newer version Gomez rather than the original Jack Russell, leading to a surge in demand for the 2020 debut issue. Raw copies of this comic reached highs of $35 each, while 9.8s were selling for $250. However, when the special finally arrived, it featured the OG Jack Russell as the werewolf. 2 years later, this gamble by collectors didn't pay off, as copies of the now are now holding $12 for near mint and $40 for 9.8s. While this book is considered a bust in terms of speculative investment, the Gomez version of the character holds potential for future use in Marvel's expanding universe. Additionally, there may be opportunities for other werewolf characters in future series. Now, since we keep kind of creeping back to the MCU and Sony and everything, I think Werewolf by Night was very good. And I don't know if any of you guys have watched it. Let me know in the comments section. They just dropped the colored version. It was black and white. Now it's colored. I think both versions are available to watch. So it's like last Halloween, they dropped black and white. This one, the color version. And there you go. Let's get to number 2. This is Eternals number 1. 2 years ago, Eternals was a hot commodity. This is the 4th Eternals-related book on the list, and the issue holds significant importance in this series. The debut of the Eternals garnered tremendous attention and high sales in 2021, remaining strong through November of that year. Even in November, prices were not at their all-time highs, but remained robust, with copies fetching $150 and graded CGC copies exceeding $2,000. There were many reasons for optimism regarding the future of the Eternals and their characters. Fast forward 2 years later to 2023, and interest has waned considerably. Raw near mint copies are now selling for less than $50 each, and graded 9.8s have dropped to a mere $400. This book is unquestionably a bust in terms of speculative investment. However, as mentioned earlier, the return of these characters has yet to be officially confirmed, but it does seem highly likely. Their eventual return may reignite interest, but the prospect of reaching the price level seen in 2021 appears exceedingly improbable at this point. I don't know if we'll ever see those numbers, but a $400 9.8 still seems low to me. Just my opinion. We're going to get to number 1, but before we do, I want to remind everybody to check out covrprice.com. Make sure you check out the discount code down below. It's an absolutely amazing tool for your comic book collection. With that, let's get to number 1 on our list. This is Thumb's number 1. 2 years ago, Deadline reported that Todd McFarlane was launching a television division, and one of the initial projects he announced was the optioning of Thumbs. This news triggered a surge in demand for the comic, with copies quickly disappearing from online stores. Prices soared to over $10 for raw copies, and CGC 9.8 copy reached an all-time high of $281. However, 2 years later, and as we find ourselves in 2023, there has been little to no information regarding Thumbs or McFarlane's television division. While this could be the calm before the storm, making any definitive predictions is challenging. The lack of updates has led to a drop in both prices and the excitement surrounding the Thumbs comic. Raw copies are now selling for cover price, and most recent sale of a graded 9.8 went for $21, classifying this book as a bust. For the time being, let's remain hopeful that Thumbs will see an adaptation, and McFarlane continues to explore exciting indie stories for future projects. That's it for our list. We are 10 for 10 with busts, guys. Don't worry, someday we're gonna see some boosts. Don't forget to check out covrprice.com, their movers and shakers list, and come back next time, because I don't know if we're gonna do a 1 year, 2 year, 3 year, or 4 year look back. Your guess is as good as mine. We'll see you next time. Thank you guys so much for watching, and as always, keep it comics.